It has been a long time. Let's see, the last time that I was streaming was April 21st, and it's now almost May 8th, so more than 2 weeks. Sorry about that. My streaming schedule, my overall schedule is just all kinds of a mess. I am in summer mode right now, and because of that, I am up playing games later. I am sleeping later during the day, and when I'm not sleeping, I'm doing my day job. So things are a little weird, but it is almost midnight here on the East Coast, and that would make it about 9 o'clock, a little before 9 on the West Coast. I hope everyone is doing okay through this whole ordeal, which is still going on, but we're going to forget about that for a little while. We're going to play some Ye Are Kung Fu from 1985. Now, I didn't play this game until a couple of years later, and I'll get into that as we start to play. And we're going to do a warm-up here. And then we'll get into, and then we'll try the Caravan Mode maybe, depending on how long this takes. So, there's there are a lot of exclamation points. Do your best! Exclamation, exclamation. Good luck! Exclamation, exclamation. You do get extra lives at 30,000 and then every 80,000 after that, and you'll see how that works once we get started. So this is a one-on-one fighting game, a very early version of it, and you have two buttons. You have a punch and a kick button. And the idea here is to try and obviously knock the opponent's health down to 0. But there's not a lot in terms of, like, there are some special moves you can do depending on which direction you press on the D-pad. And my strategy when I played this was always just to jump from one end of the screen to the other and try and land a low kick here and there. It's not the way to get the best scores, but it's effective. So once you beat the enemy, you get some extra bonus points for how much life you have left, and you move on. I believe there are 10 or 11 characters you have to get through. And in order to get really high scores in this game, you've got to try and not get hit. You've got to try and get perfects. But the way the perfect bonuses work in this game, as I already messed up, you get a multiplier of 10,000 times whatever enemy you're on. For example, if I was to get a perfect here with Star, then I would get 20,000 points. If I was to get a perfect on, like, the 6th enemy of the game, or the 6th opponent of the game, then I would get 60,000 points. So it's all strategic, and certainly once you get past the first 5 here, it becomes difficult to get that perfect if you can get it. And already you're really on the 3rd enemy is where things start to get complicated. And as you can see, as you play, like, the enemies become better equipped to kick your butt. There we go. Oh no, I gotta jump. Ah, it's alright. So this game, along with Map Mania, which I've done on this channel, Life Force, which I've done on this channel, Cabal, 1942, those were all at a convenience store called Call's Corner, which is in Greenfield, Mass, and it's still there. And I would go to this convenience store whenever I could, whenever I had the money. And they had built an addition to put these arcade games in. So there were about 5 or so that would kind of rotate based on what was working. And this was one of the games that was there. And I learned how to play by watching others. I've talked about this before, but I grew up the oldest of 3 in a single-parent household, so money was not flowing or coming out of trees. So, oh boy, I'm in trouble. So, aside from, like, allowance, I really didn't have a lot of money to put in arcade games. I got housed. So I learned how to play this by watching others and developing my own strategy, which, as you can see, doesn't always work. course, I also get a little too set in my ways here, or a little too greedy. Whereas, because there's no timer, you can take time. Ah, nice counter. Oh my... What is happening? Dude, ow! Okay. Let's try it again. This was not one of the games I was great at. I would usually get... I would get like 5 or 6 characters in before I was done. Man. You little cheater. Hmm. Man, I am getting crushed. Alright, gotta try this again. So there were only, because there were so few games there, and you know, not that 5 is few, but you learn to either get decent because it was the only arcade that was close to where I lived, or you wound up just playing the same games over and over again. So I did watch others play to try and formulate a strategy, although the people that I watched play really didn't use a lot of special moves, which I thought was interesting, which is why I don't use a lot of them, and might be a reason why I'm kind of getting waxed here. Oh, he doesn't jump backwards. Yikes. I am glad I did a practice game first. So something I'm noticing, and it's maybe because of the D-pad, and I am using a relatively new controller. I think I showed it to you when I streamed last. It's the Goku controller here. Is that the jump, and you have to press up to jump, like up and left or up and right. And it's not always the most responsive. You kind of have to tap it. And sometimes it doesn't work on command like it's supposed to. And if you get cornered, as you've seen with this character here, you can get in trouble pretty quickly. Here we go. And you can see now how the pattern works. As long as you don't get trapped. There we go. Fetal. All Fetal is a bunch of guys coming at you at once, and they don't do anything, but it's still really easy to make a mistake. And I tried to kick to the left or to the right, and that was not smart. So now we have Chain. So this is Master Hand history. So now this is like a stage higher. And Chain is a pain. He is a big target, as you can see. But this is one of the characters that, if you play your cards right, which I did not, you can get a perfect on and get like 60,000 if you get the perfect. Losing the Chain is not something you do very often. He's fairly easy. Club is tougher. You can see he also has a shield there. And you always have to get him on the front foot. So it's pretty even so far. Now it's not. Here we go. That was probably not the smartest thing to do. And because this is an 80s arcade game, like, your warning bell is always that repeating, annoying sound that you just want to turn off. Ah. This is about as far as I would get. On better days, I could sometimes get past Fan, which is the next opponent. This is usually with Club, that's where I knew I was either having a really good day or a really bad day. If I was having a good day, I would play the game more. If I was not having a good day of it, I would usually retreat to a different game. Most of the time, that game would be Matmania, but sometimes it would be... whoa, that was not good. But other times it would be Life Force 2. Or Cabal, which I really wish would come out. So my last life. Oh, man. Little bit embarrassing. Still, we're doing pretty well here in terms of credits. You know, you put 1 quarter in and you last this long. I certainly was happy to take that because you felt like you were getting your money's worth. That wasn't smart. Ah. So this arcade game, I played it, or I started going to the place where this arcade game was in 1986. I had just moved to Greenfield, Mass. After graduating from 8th grade. Oh boy, I can't believe I'm dead. I moved to Greenfield, Mass in the summer of '86 after I graduated from 8th grade. I'll put my name in here. And Call's Corner already had arcade games in there at this time, so that was pretty cool. So I would go up there. Again, it was within walking distance from where I lived, so it was the place for me to go, whether it was after class got out or whether it was on a weekend or whenever I could come up with the money. And there would be days... There we go. There would be days when, even if I didn't have money, I would just kind of go up there just to kind of get out of the house. Alright, let's try this again. So, I don't recall whether this was there when I first started going, but I do remember that I did play this quite a bit. There were 2 places to play, well, there were 2 main places that I played arcade games when I lived up there. Call's Corner was one of them, and the other one was the Greenfield Teen Center, which was open only on weekends, and it was only open 2 nights. It was, so Friday night was for middle school kids, or middle school agers, and then Saturday nights were for high schoolers. So those are the 2 main places. I've also talked about Outrun before. Unfortunately, I haven't played it for this channel. But Outrun is the game that helped teach me. Yeah, let me try it again. Helped to teach me how to drive, and I played that at a pizza place. That's a better run. But that was secondary, really. It was just the Teen Center and Call's Corner that had the arcade games, and when I didn't, when I didn't have money or when the weather was bad, that's when I would be at home and I would be playing games on my Commodore 64 instead. Oh, you cheap! Ugh. And I did that for 4 years. Well, a little less than 4 years. Call's Corner was really what I needed. Greenfield was at the time, and it still is pretty much, but it was a very small town, not quite rural, but not quite suburban either, kind of like in the middle. It did have a couple of movie theaters, and it had like a big supermarket, and it had a couple of like big box discount stores. So they weren't like a Sears or a JCPenney, but like if you're from New England here or from the Northeast, you might remember like Ames. They had an Ames. They had a Zare for a while, which is another one kind of like Caldor. But they never really had like the big businesses. Darn it. There was a Blockbuster there that I used to go to. There was also a couple of other smaller video rental places. And the funny thing about Greenfield is when I moved up there, I hated it at first, and I really struggled. My freshman year of high school at Greenfield High was bad. In fact, I didn't finish my freshman year at that school. I wound up transferring out and going living with my paternal grandmother for a while, and went to Holyoke Catholic, which is in Holyoke and no longer exists. I went there for a year, and then I went to Pioneer Valley Regional School, which is still a thing. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you could do that. But that was when I lived up there, when I went to Pioneer Valley Regional, like I lived in you cheater! Like that was an even more rural neighborhood. Like there weren't any arcade games around at all. I was relying on my Commodore 64 exclusively for gaming at that time, with a little bit of NES play. I was staying with my dad then, and my dad had an NES for his kids, but rarely let me play. So, and that was cruel. To have access to an NES like that, but not have access, being the video game fan that I was, hurt a little bit. It was a weird, it was a very weird dynamic. My high school years were difficult. I went to, let's see, 9th grade I went to 2 different schools. I started out at Greenfield High, I went to Holyoke Catholic. Then my sophomore year, I went to Pioneer Valley Regional, and then I wound up going back to Greenfield High School after that. Man, why does this guy keep kicking my butt? And then my junior and senior year, I did stay at Greenfield High School, but a lot of moving around, a lot of weird stuff went on. Ooh. A lot of weird, like, family stuff. It was just a, and for anyone in high school, and high school years are awkward anyway. And that's why not having access to like a mall like I used to have in 7th and 8th grade was really problematic for me. Because I didn't have that out. That constant out, or the place that had like multiple arcades, a movie theater, the food court. I mean, malls for me were the escape. And when I lost that escape vehicle, life got pretty tough. Come on. There we go. Got it perfect finally. There we go. So Call's Corner and the Teen Center were big lifesavers for an awkward nerd like me at that time. And there was a time, well after I graduated from high school, it was like 2004, I think. I graduated in 1990. This year was going to be my, well, it still is, but I mean, they were going to do a 30th high school reunion, which automatically makes me a very old man. But in 2004, I was working in a theme restaurant called Kahunaville, which is at the Holyoke Mall, a place that I knew really well. And I actually, one of the owners, or the owner's wife, had come in and recognized me, which I thought was very cool but very strange at the same time. And she said that they had sold since, but she remembered myself and my brother coming in and buying junk food, which we did, and going to the arcade asking for quarters, which I did. So that was it was a very nice look back at the past. And unfortunately, the owner has since passed, or the former owner has since passed on. Obviously, the arcade games are no longer there. They're using I don't even know if they're using the Edition for anything. I haven't been back to Greenfield in a long time, probably 7 or 8 years, man. But that's where I did. That's where I did a lot of my growing up. High school was, I work with middle school age students now, which I am grateful for. I love these kids. I love working with them, I should say. Uh, I never really thought about working at the high school level because I don't think I have the right presence for it. I don't think that my personality would mesh well because I'm not quite serious enough. Hey, I finally beat him. Sweet. And I got an extra life. But high school was just so many different things that I could talk about. I finally became socially active a little bit, and that took a while, and that was thanks to the teen center, thank goodness. Darn it. No, darn it. There were things that were going on at home. I had talked about the fact that I lived I live with my mom, single parent. My parents split up when I was very young. But in this apartment complex slash project, apartment complex slash the projects that we lived in, my dad lived in the same the same apartment complex or project. So that was a little uncomfortable. Needless to say, there was always that friction between my mom and my dad, between my dad and us. It was very very weird. Alright, so we're at the sword now, and I have 4 opportunities. Oh boy. Gotta get out of there. So we got a high score going here, so we'll probably go and do... Caravan Mode after this. That was not smart. That's me being too greedy. Oh, gotta get out. So what else can I talk about? I did mention the Teen Center. The Teen Center was where the arcade in there had Time Pilot 84, which I thought would come out for Microsoft Game Room, but never did. So Time Pilot 84 was there. Tournament Cyberball 72 was there. Yes, sweet. They had this weird bootleg arcade game that mixed track and field and hypersports together. And one of my coolest memories, and this guy's just gonna house me, was one of the first nights that I went to the Teen Center. The game was there, and you had to pay to get into the Teen Center. You paid, I think it was like $3 or something like that. It was, reasonable. But when I got in there, I found that machine, and knowing what you know about me and how much I played track and field as a kid, I got in on that arcade machine, and I played And I played from the time I walked in until the time I left on 1 quarter. I flipped the score over, which means I crossed from 999,000 to 1,000,000 points. And the managers of the place, like the police chief's wife, and somebody else, someone had said or had noted that I had spent all this time on that machine. So they actually gave me a free pass for the next week, which I thought was really nice. And that's just one of those small town things that you just don't see much anymore. It definitely meant a lot because I was still like the new kid there. I'm going to lose again, but that's alright. Oh, I'm going to make a go of it. No. And I would go there every weekend without fail. Thankfully, they were open during the summer too, and school was out, so they were open pretty much every weekend, unless there was like a holiday like Christmas or something. They wouldn't be open, or New Year's. But other than that, they were open pretty much every weekend, and that place was great. Even for like a social outcast like myself, I still made friends when I was there. I danced like an idiot. That was my headbanger phase, so the DJ there would always be kind of mixing things up a little bit between rock music and dance music, so there would be like the usual, like the AC/DC stuff, some Led Zeppelin and some Guns N' Roses, and then they would flip over to New Kids on the Block or MC Hammer or something along that line. So it was interesting to be sure. All right, this is where you're going to see me get my head handed to me, because this basically is me. So you're almost like fighting a double of yourself. He's a blue belt, it looks like. No, I got him once. I have never beaten blues. And I'm going to have 2 shots at it to try and do it. No, I hit him twice. 3 times. Now I'm dead. Yeah, the whistles aren't going to help. Now, this is when he starts doing that flippy stuff. Oh, dead. Might get to 250 grand, though. That would be nice. And at my senior year of high school, they actually let me help out on Friday nights for the middle school crowd, so that was kind of nice. I'll never forget, I had to split up a middle school group, a boyfriend and a girlfriend, for doing some things that probably shouldn't be doing in public. That was a little embarrassing for them, and definitely awkward for me. I think that was during a WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken. We were all watching WrestleMania, and they had it on pay-per-view, and yeah, it was weird. But it was definitely like the place. You know, I think it closed down. I know it's closed now. I probably closed down a few years after I graduated, because it just outlived its usefulness, or, you know, things had changed. Man, this guy's tough. Oh, this is my last try. It's alright. Nope. Stop doing the flippy thing. Don't. Alright. Alright. 258,000. I'll take that. Time to put my name back in, and we'll go through and we will try the Caravan Mode. And just for a reminder, the Caravan Mode, they give you 5 minutes. And you have to get as high a score as you can in 5 minutes, which means that trying to get perfects will be important and not losing lives. And yes, this is one of those arcade games where it wasn't just the 3 initials. You could put in your full name if you wanted, which is what I do. And now we will go back to the title screen here. And we'll try the 5 minutes. So again, you have to score as much as you can in 5 minutes time. We'll see what the high score is. Oof, I am not getting anywhere close to those. This isn't like Frogger where I actually have a chance. And this particular version of the game, they don't even give you any extra lives. It's a one and done thing. Taking too long. Oof. Darn it. There we go. So this came out in 85. That would have made me 13 when this came out. I don't recall playing this a lot in arcades. I might have seen it in the arcade, but I don't really remember playing it. It was Call's Corner that I played it, and again, when you're talking about a smaller venue that has a limited number of arcade machines, you're gonna take what they've got. If you're an arcade game fan like I am, or like I was at the time. So it doesn't matter how good you are at the game, how bad you are at the game. If you want to play an arcade game, you're going to play it. And you're either going to get better at it, or you're going to suck and just learn as you go. It's very reminiscent of when I used to go camping, when my mom used to drag me to the White Birch Campground in Wheatley, Massachusetts during the summers. And they have up there, or they had, because it's not open anymore, but they had a rec hall that had some arcade games in it. And the arcade games, darn it, the arcade games weren't great. The arcade games were Battle Zone, which is okay. They had a pinball machine called Aquarius from Gottlieb, which has really tiny flippers. They had a Galaga machine, and back then I was terrible at Galaga. They had Mr. Dew's Castle. And the one that's... oh, man, this guy is going to kick my tail again. The one that always stands out to me is they had a Missile Command machine, but the Missile Command cabinet, where the buttons were and where the trackball was, were exposed, so you could get like minor shocks when you played, especially if you had exposed skin. It was very, that was, I don't want to say it was ghetto, but it was very not classy. But again, you know, these are games that I really wasn't great at the time. They also had Champion Baseball too, which is a game that I've actually learned to appreciate a lot more in my older years. I actually have it. I don't have the arcade game, obviously, but I have it. I have a MAME emulation. Oh, wow. I'm doing okay. I have a MAME emulation that I play every now and again. And you played what they had. Oh, man, I did it now. So Call's Corner was basically the same way. And I mean, aside from this, I mean, I could list more of the games that they had because they did kind of fly in and out of circulation. That's not good. They had Splatterhouse, which I hadn't played before. And because they had Splatterhouse there, my brother and I both played it. So when he got his TurboGrafx 16 in the Christmas of '89, he wound up getting the... wow, nice. He wound up getting Splatterhouse for that. And we got to play it at home. All right, look at that. Now, if I had gotten perfect on Fetal, I would have been in great shape. This is probably as far as I go. Let's see. So... Splatterhouse they had, 1942 they had, which I sadly have not gotten any better at in my adult years. It's not something like Galaga, where I've actually gotten a lot better. Galaga is one of those games that I was bad at as a kid, and now as an adult, I play that game so well now. I've even rolled over the score a couple of times, got to over 1 million. You better not. I'm going to be so angry. Oh, I'm not going to have enough time. Boy, the time should stop when this is going on. 3 seconds. 2, 1. That's it. 197,600. We'll try it again. Okay. It's nice that they don't start the timer until you start playing, at least. So 1942 Cabal, which when that came out for the NES and I was able to get it and play it at home, just fantastic. Magmax is another one, and I've played that on this channel before. I've done Matt Mania on this channel before, which is my favorite wrestling game of all time, even though it's not licensed or anything. It's a little hokey, but I love playing that. And then there was this, and Life Force was there, and I've done Life Force on this channel too. So they had a fair number of games come in and out of there that I would play. It was just, and it's funny because during the summer, like, there was no, I remember summer times, like, it got hot in there, and you'd understand, it's a very small edition. So when it's hot outside, they have an air conditioner, but it's taking care of the whole place. So it never really got cool in there, which probably wasn't good for the arcade games if I'm looking back on it. But you know, summers, man, that's where I was. Whether I had money or not, I would make it every day. I would go up there and I would just kind of look to see if there was anyone inside. I admit this, I would go and I would fish around in the in the coin slots to see whether coin return slot to see whether there were any quarters in there. And then if I did have money, I mean, I was playing, and I was trying to get money any way that I could. That was almost dumb. That was almost dumb too. All right. You know I'm going to screw this up, right? Yep. Like clockwork. I'm like clairvoyant. Alright, if we can get past pole here, we might have a good shot at it. In hot fighting history. So enough of the reminiscing here for a little bit. What have I been playing lately? I've been playing a lot of NBA 2K. And before you say anything, because I am a big critic of that game, but I have finally fallen victim to my team, and it's because there have been so many locker codes that 2K Sports or Visual Concepts have leaked during this time of lockdown. And I've sold some extra cards and things, and I've put together a not like an award-winning team by any stretch, but I can hold my own. You better not. So that's cool. I've been playing that every night, a couple of times a night sometimes, to get my daily logins, and it's been fun. So I've been doing that a lot. There we go. I've been playing a little bit of Jedi Fallen Order, and I said I wasn't going to do that because it's a Souls-like, and I hate those kinds of games with a passion. But there was finally it went on sale, or not finally, but it went on sale again on May 4th for $36, and I had some extra money in my Xbox Live account, so I went ahead and I did it. It's this weird Souls/Uncharted mixture of things, and it's not bad. I'm not a big fan of the performance, and I'm playing this on an Xbox One, where we should be getting better performance, and we're just not. But I do like the game overall. It's very unusual in this day and age to get a game that's narrative driven and can be played only with a single player and doesn't have a lot in the way of microtransactions. So I've been playing that. Oh, you better not. I'm going to be so upset. Good. And still, I'm going to make the same mistake. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Ah, 183,000. Whatever. Back to title screen. So I've been playing those. I've been playing on my Xbox One a lot more than my PS4 of late, which explains another reason why I haven't been streaming much. This is the first time I've turned on my PS4 actually since before my birthday, which is kind of sad. Been doing some Switch here and there. I played Streets of Rage 4, which is great. I bought one of the physical copies or physical editions from the UK or wherever it is, just to have it. I like the game. I don't like the artwork. I think the artwork is still kind of gross. I much prefer the pixelated look. But the game is still a lot of fun to play and has just the right number of callbacks. The music is very good too. So that's what I've been playing a lot of when I've been playing. I haven't been playing my Switch too much. I am waiting for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition to come in at the end of the month, which feels like forever away at this point. I have a lot of Switch stuff that I could be playing. I just haven't gotten around to playing it. It's really just been Xbox One. I think the other thing is that I joined Game Pass Ultimate. I bought myself a couple of years of Xbox Live Gold first, and then I upgraded for the dollar or whatever it was. So I am now Xbox Live Gold Ultimate Super, whatever it is, until 2022. And it's been fantastic. It's been allowed me to play some games that I wouldn't have ordinarily played, and it's cool. It is cool. If you have the money kicking around, especially if you find a good deal on Xbox Live Gold memberships, and you don't have Ultimate yet, I do recommend it. It's really quite good. I'm not going to do the Red Dead Redemption 2 bit because it's way too much in terms of data. And my Xbox One hard drive, I have a 4 gig hard drive, and that thing is like 70% full. I don't see myself downloading a 130 gigabyte game, especially with as long as it takes, given the data slowdowns. But Game Pass is definitely a good thing. And yeah, that's really what's been going on. Just found out today that the school year for the school that I work in ends on June 12th, which is a few days before I expected. And then, of course, just comes the waiting game. Waiting to see how the budgets are going to shake out for the next year, and whether I'm going to have a job, which is definitely frightening. But I'm right there with 30 million other people in this country right now, where you're either not working or you may soon to be not working. So it's definitely an uneasy time, to be sure. But I'm doing all right here. My sleep schedule's bad. I go to bed at like 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning now. But things are well. I'm still able to get food. I get food delivered, or I pick it up. I don't go into grocery stores. I'm trying to limit as much of my exposure. Plus, I'm just trying to stay out of the way of the people that are already in the stores, because those are pretty crazy places right now. So things are good on that front. I have managed to squirrel away some money to live on for a couple of months once the summer gets here, which I had to anyway. And then we'll see what happens in September. So that's really what's going on here. I really don't have any opinions or any ideas as to what's going to happen as things start to slowly open up from state to state. I don't have any strong opinions either way about whether stuff should open or shouldn't open. I'm just kind of letting the people that make the decisions, and I kind of go along with them as they happen. Just because what I think really doesn't matter here or there. I will say that if schools reopen and there are some staff members that are kind of not sure about going, I'm not going to be one of those people. I'm fortunate in that I don't have children. I don't live with an older relative. So if something happens to me, I'm not going to be necessarily passing it on to anybody. Which takes a little bit of the fear away, even though obviously I worry about what would happen. I'm right on that border between higher risk and not. 50 is when you start to see a little bit more risk. And then, of course, if you're overweight or if you have pre-existing health conditions, I have a few of those. So you never know. But again, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So it's kind of a wait and see thing. But, if I was ordered to go back to the school building tomorrow, I would be there without hesitation. And I totally understand that not everyone else would be. So that's what's going on as far as that goes. As far as future streaming, I don't know, guys. Is the YouTube thing working? I know some people have talked to me about maybe going back to the Twitch route, and I could certainly consider that. But I would have to do this a lot more regularly in order to do that. I wanted to, at some point, try and get OBS working on my laptop again and do some Super Nintendo or NES streaming, which I did when I was working on a certain Super Nintendo guidebook a couple of years ago. But I'm using it on my old laptop, which I use to film unsealed videos on, and when I run OBS, it makes, and remember, this laptop is 8 years old, almost 8 years old. So it makes the fans run like crazy, and that's bad for microphone stuff. And plus, I don't want to overheat the thing. I do have a second laptop that I use for work, but again, it's a work one, and the camera is bad. I don't know how I can have a laptop that's newer by like 6 years and have a camera that's worse, even though all of the other specs are better. It makes no sense to me. One thing I've thought about doing, and I thought about doing it not just for the computer but also for the Xbox One, is maybe investing in a webcam, which is a possibility for streaming. But I don't know for sure whether I'm going to do that or not. I kind of have to see how that all shakes out. So that catches you up on everything. I know it's been a while. I really should try and stream a bit more. I'd like to stay in the habit of doing so. There will be another Unsealed episode next week, I think. Gosh, you know, I have some greatest hits PS2 games I'm thinking about opening. I know I have a bunch of video game magazines that are sealed that I need to get to. And I'm thinking that Zone of the Enders is going to be soon. I mentioned this on Twitter. I have been looking for a sealed Metal Gear Solid 2 because that's the demo that comes in Zone of the Enders. So I thought it would have been a neat little segue to open Zone of the Enders, talk about the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo, and then open up a brand new copy of Metal Gear Solid 2. And I have a big story behind that. That's the first game that I ever reviewed that I had a review deadline for, where I had to play it in 2 days and I had to write a review for it. So I have a lot of stories on that. And maybe I can just get my copy of MGS2 and talk about it, but I thought it would have been neater to open up a brand new copy and do like a double opening. So I'm trying, but if I don't, I do know that I want to get to Zone of the Enders soon because that's a fun one to do, especially after the To Ball Number 1 episode where I had the Final Fantasy VII demo. So that's what's going on in the video front. So there'll definitely be a new episode of Unsealed next week. It will not be another half an hour long, I promise. That just kind of went long because of the setup that I used, talking about my experience with golf before starting to open the stuff. And doing 3 openings in one episode might be taking a little far. So I'll try and cut that down and do 1 or 2 at a time from here on, or make it into a series. I do have a copy of PGA Tour Golf 2 for the Genesis that's still sealed that is coming. In fact, I just want to take a second here because I can look and see when it's due. I thought that was coming this weekend, and if it does, I might want to wait on that though. Let me see. Track package. It says it's supposed to be here this weekend, but I like to hold on to that for when the PGA tours off, or the PGA Tour kicks off again in June, which is what they're talking about. So I like to do that in tandem with that. But that's something I have coming. And then as far as other unsealed games go, I have a bunch of sports games that I just don't know that I can get to all of those at the same time. I have a bunch of baseball stuff that I wanted to do. I have a couple of hockey games there. I have a couple of sports games I'm going to do for the PlayStation 2 anniversary show, which is in October. And there's another game that kind of goes with that that I want to do right around then, but I have to kind of see what's going to go on. So I do have some stuff, and I'm still looking on eBay every now and again to see if there are any games that kind of stick out as ones that I'd want to cover for the show. And the other thing that I'm thinking of is trying to do some more, or maybe doing some repeat episodes, but back in Retro Central, which is down the hall or across the hall from where we film here. I have my office set up again, or I have that space set up again because that's where I do my meetings for school and attending classes. So I might start doing some more filming in there if there are things that I want to go over. It doesn't make any sense really to do some unsealed episodes in there, only because the lighting isn't great, and the natural lighting kind of washes things out. And because I'm using my iPad for filming in there, I have to set the iPad up like a light year away. I have to set it up. I sit next to the GX TV, and then at the other end of the room, I have to set up the iPad camera, so it's not very close. And if I don't get the lighting right, it doesn't look very good on camera at all. There's a lot like issues with darkness and the fact that it's a iPad Air 2, so the darkness correction isn't great. But I'm thinking about it. I am definitely thinking about doing some more filming in there. So we'll see. So that's the filming stuff. I talked about what I'm playing. We did some ER Kung Fu. I think I'm done because this is almost an hour in. Those of you who tuned in, whether you're tuning in live or whether you're watching this on YouTube archive, I really appreciate it. If you did watch this, or if you get time to drop by the YouTube comments, I'd really like to know. Do you want me to keep doing this on YouTube, or do you think it's better that I go to Twitch? I'd really like to hear what you think. One of my favorite streamers who has basically been YouTube only for a while recently started going back to Twitch a little bit more and has kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit. So I'm curious. Now, granted, my audience is all on YouTube, so getting people to move over to Twitch may be a tall order. But I'm kind of curious what people think, or maybe I should split it, and maybe I should try and do 2 streams a week. I don't know. But let me know what you think in comments if you get time. Certainly no deal breaker if you don't. But I'm kind of just looking for audience reaction, what you think I should do. Keep in mind that I'm streaming from my PS4 using the PS4 camera. I don't have a capture card. So it's either going to be Twitch or YouTube, and it's just going to be PS4. If I stream anything from my Xbox One, that's using Mixer, and that's only microphone only. I don't have a webcam yet, but I do have a Turtle Beach headset that I've been using. I tested it out, and it actually went okay. So I may do that some more in the future. All right. Until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other. Please be good. And until the next time, see you later.